Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another presentation for BS Mother Tongue Literacy and Development. My name is Timothy Chunga. Again, this presentation is very crucial for you when you prepare for your exams. It's very important that you read this presentation together with your study guide. Please note that in most cases what I've observed is that students cannot match the keywords in their study content and the keywords in the questions. So questions or answers are given at random, even to wrong questions. It's very important that you master the key concepts. Do not only read or study when you're studying for the exams, but take time, chunk your work in smaller bits so that you can cover the work that you are expected to cover throughout the year. Read the learning objectives, learning outcomes that you are required to have mastered after every unit, and see to it that you learn the content beforehand. About this presentation, the presentation will guide you on key issues in this course. Study it together with your study guide, like I've said. Also, acquaint yourself with question verbs in your study guide. Question verbs like discuss, explain, define, all such words are very important because they determine how much and what kind of perspective you take in answering a question. You can reach me at timchunga@yahoo.com, or you can alternately call me between 7:30 to 20 hours during the week. Please take note of key concepts in your course. It's very important that you learn those. The first area that I'm going to look at is national policy on mother tongue instruction. We have a national policy in the country that guides us in terms of how we handle the mother tongue instruction issue. I'm sure that you've heard about it. You've heard about schools in opting to teach the first 3 grades in their mother tongue, and then gradually English being introduced after the 3rd grade. So it's very important that we know how this policy works. Pre-primary learners acquire a foundation for literacy and language learning through listening, speaking, and preparatory reading activities. 2 language subjects from grade 1 to grade 10, and as far as possible, so from grade 1 up to grade 10 or up to grade 12, learners must have 2 language subjects, at least 1 language on a first language level, and then the other, in most cases or in the majority, take English as a second language. The other language subject for the great majority of learners will be the mother tongue. So the first language mostly is the mother tongue of the children. In multi-language schools, there are those schools that have learners from different language backgrounds. Mother tongue language classes will be constituted where there is a sufficient number of learners in a mother tongue, which is 30 in a primary school. So if you have, for example, learners registered for Sherero in 1 grade, and they make up the number of 30 in 1 class, then you can introduce that particular language. Mother tongue instruction will be in the best interest of the learner, especially in the first 3 grades of school. However, the policy leaves room for misinterpretation by stating that grades 1 to 3 be taught either through the home language or a local language or English. The choice of the medium of instruction is therefore decentralized. That means the school decides within the parameters of this policy. The school can decide, and some schools in urban areas are opting for English as a medium of instruction from grade 1. For example, if you have, you are a school in Windhoek or in any other town where you have a concentration of people or children from different language background, you could decide to introduce English as the medium of instruction as of grade 1. That is about the national policy. Let's look at children's literature. Children's literature is considered to be of value to children. So we are going to look at why is it of value, or what value do children derive from learning children's literature. The first one is that children's literature provides learners with the opportunity to do the following. One is to respond to literature and develop their own opinions about the topic. Literature is the text that they are reading. For example, the storybook that they are reading, they respond to that, to the content of that, and be able to form their own opinions on the topic that is brought, forward by the story that they are reading. They also learn about their own cultural heritage and the cultures of other people. So through stories, cultural, identity, cultural aspects of the characters can come through the books that they read. So they learn about those and how their own culture is different from what they are reading. It helps learners develop emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is, things like compassion, fellow feeling for others, being able to make, judgments that are about, what to say in public and what not to say, how others may feel if we do certain things. It also encourages creativity, being able to think creatively, being able to, write stories themselves because they can learn how stories are written. It fosters personality and social development. Through interacting with characters in the books, the children will also develop their own personality and be able to interact with others socially. Another aspect is that it helps them to develop into caring, intelligent, and friendly people. Literature can also foster social development by encouraging learners to accept other people and their differences. All right, so if they encounter characters that are different, they may be able, through reading and understanding why they do things the way they do, will be able to accept other people and that other people are different from them. It encourages learners to develop relationships with people, encouraging social contact. Again, the social aspect is molded through children's literature. It can also contribute to the creation of responsible, successful, and caring individuals. That is very important. Through reading literature, these traits are developed. Therefore, it's very important that you read children's literature or you read books, introduce stories to your children, because there is so much value in that in terms of they build, socially building them up. Then we're going to look at strategies a language teacher can use to make input comprehensible. Input is everything that you teach. Comprehensible, understandable, that learners, grasp what you teach them. So whatever content you teach, make sure that you use the following strategies to ensure that they remember it or understand it. The first one is to show pictures or visuals with new vocabulary words, and communicative concepts. For example, in history, if you're teaching history about, the world exploration, the likes of Christopher Columbus, the explorers, you can, have pictures of sheep which they use to explore the world. Words in English with the pictures they represent. For example, if you're teaching about animals, you could have, the pictures of the animals together with the words. Incorporate gestures, drama, and music into the lessons. Make them play, play things out of what they are learning. Let them sing songs about what, put what they are learning into songs so that they can remember. So listen to rhythms and music and act out situations to make a lesson more comprehensible and memorable. The other aspect is design lessons with hands-on activities and manipulatives. For example, in science and math, you can incorporate hands-on activities and manipulatives. In a math class, the teacher can demonstrate the concept of parameter an area by having learners place a string around different sections of a grid paper. So when they do that, they also understand, because they can do it themselves. They will be able to understand what you mean by parameter. Repeat new vocabulary in the following ways. Games where learners place the written vocabulary word on the corresponding picture. Write the word as the teacher holds up the picture. Board games such as Trivial Pursuit, Vocabulary, Scrabble, Boggle, or Hangman. These are all games that you can use to play word games. Computer-assisted lessons that incorporate the new vocabulary. So these all look at how you can incorporate the new vocabulary that you've learned into games. Then translation. When the second language group is homogeneous, that means that they are from the same first language or mother tongue language. Then the teacher can quickly translate key concepts to make the lesson comprehensible. One mistake that we do as teachers, and that is why our students or learners do complain, is even if there are only 2 learners from one language group, then we start translating, and the others then feel left out and discriminated against. Therefore, they complain about us using, our mother tongue or a certain group's mother tongue over the others. So if they are homogeneous, it's very important that you can translate. Then hearing and listening. These are 2 concepts that are used. Sometimes we use them interchangeably, but there are differences. Hearing is simply the act of perceiving sound by the ear. Whatever hits your eardrum records a sound, so you are hearing it. If you're not hearing impaired, hearing simply happens, so it just happens without any effort. Listening, however, is something you consciously choose to do, so it's a deliberate act that you do. Listening requires concentration so that your brain processes meaning from words and sentences. Listening leads to learning. So if you listen to something, you'll be able to learn something out of it. Hearing is a physiological process. Listening is an intellectual one, requiring interpretation, analysis, integration, and evaluation. So when you hear something, it just doesn't just come through as it is. It's subject to different processes through your brain that ends up making meaning out of it. Okay, then guidelines for assessing listening skills. In senior primary learners should be able to. So these are things that they should have achieved at the end of it. They should be able to listen to listen to and comprehend information. They should be able to recognize and follow instructions and deductions. They should be able to recognize the speaker's main points or ideas and identify the supporting details and examples. They should be able to say these are the main points from what I have heard. They should be able to comprehend feelings, intentions, emotions, and attitudes of speakers or texts. Then key elements of active listening. When you do active listening, first of all, you need to pay attention. What do we mean by paying attention? You give the speaker your undivided attention. Recognize non-verbal communication. So if you pay attention, you don't just pay attention to the words. You also look at non-verbal communication. That is the gestures that are used, the facial expressions, and everything that goes with the body language. Look at the speaker and put aside distracting thoughts. So you need to focus. Don't mentally prepare a rebuttal. Don't think about what you're going to say in response to what you are hearing or to what you're listening to. Ignore environmental factors, for example, side conversations. You can't listen properly if you are talking to somebody else. Listen to the speaker's body language. Okay? So you should be able to detect something that is conveyed through the body language of the speaker as well. show that you are listening. All right, it's very important that the speaker, also realizes or learns that you are indeed listening. Using your own body language and gestures to convey your attention. Nodding occasionally is one. Smiling and using other facial expressions is another way of showing that you are listening. Noting your postures and making sure and making sure it is open and inviting. Encouraging the speaker to continue with small verbal comments like yes, uh-huh. So these will all, show that you are listening. Then you should be able to provide feedback. Personal filters, assumptions, judgments, and beliefs can distort what we hear. So we should, confirm with the speaker whether what we think we have heard is indeed what is communicated. Reflect on what has been said by paraphrasing. What I'm hearing is, and it sounds like you are saying, are great ways of reflecting back. These are expressions that you can use to confirm from the speaker that what you're hearing is indeed what they are saying. Ask questions to clarify certain points. What do you mean when you say this? Is this what you mean? And then you summarize the speaker's comments periodically so that you are on par and you can assure yourself that you are indeed getting what is given to you. Then defer judgment. Avoid interrupting. It is a waste of time and frustrates the speaker and limits full understanding of the message. So if you are interrupting occasionally, it means that you are wasting the time and the speaker is going to be frustrated. And because you are chunking information in smaller bits, very small bits, it limits your understanding of the message. Allow the speaker to finish each point before asking questions. Don't interrupt with counter arguments. All right. Then respond appropriately. Active listening is a model for respect and understanding. Be candid, open, and honest in your response. Assert your opinions respectfully. Treat the other person in a way that you think he or she would want to be treated. So even if you disagree with what the speaker has said, you don't have to be disrespectful. All right. Then speaking competencies for senior primary. This is what they should be able to do at the end of senior primary. Ask for and give information, directions, instructions, and demonstrations in an appropriate manner. Communicate experiences, feelings, and opinions. Use appropriate vocabulary to give descriptions on a particular topic. Apply common courtesy conventions. Apply common courtesy conventions in simulated situations. Convey information, feelings, and ideas through a variety of presentations. Interact meaningfully and critically using appropriate vocabulary in social, cultural, and academic contexts. So these they should be able to achieve at the end of senior primary. How to support learners with speech difficulty. Nowadays it's very common that you have children in your classrooms that have problems with their speech. One aspect that you need to do is you need to be supportive. Learners with speech difficulties become self-conscious and anxious about speaking. They know that they've got difficulties, so that makes them nervous all the time. So you've got to be supportive as a teacher. The more nervous they are, the more difficult it will be for them to speak clearly. And that is why through your support you have to try by all means to make them feel comfortable. Always encourage them. If they start therapy, be supportive and interested. Be interested in the process. Make them feel accepted and loved. The next aspect is that you need to be patient with them. Allow them to talk. even if it takes a stuttering learner 10 minutes to finish a sentence, listen patiently, resist the urge to finish their sentence for them. So let them do the talking, don't do it for them. Ask questions and express interest in their answers. In order to engage them, you need to ask questions, but you also need to show that you are interested in what they are saying so that they are encouraged and they feel comfortable to continue speaking. Also, try to slow down the way that you speak. If you speak more slowly, it not only makes it easier for them to hear what you to hear the way that you speak, it also makes them feel better about speaking slowly themselves. So you are kind of going down to their level where you approve speaking slowly, but you also make it easier for them to understand what you're saying. Set an example by speaking properly. It will help learners if you pay attention to your own pronunciation and try to avoid excessive slang. Rather than making them repeat things all the time, repeat what they have said back to them so that they can hear it said properly. Creating a rubric for assessing speaking, you need a rubric. You need guidelines when you assess whatever you are assessing. So speaking is one. You need to choose the criteria on which you will grade learners and list them along the left side of the page. So in other words, you're going to whether you're going to assess them on the content, whether you're going to assess them on the pronunciation, whatever, you have to list that on the left hand side of the page. Then create an even number of columns along the top of the page. 4 is the easiest to start with if this is your first rubric. These columns will represent potential skill levels of your learners. For each criterion, define what level of the ability a learner at each of the 4 levels would exhibit. For example, the most straightforward way to label the boxes on the rubric would be meets expectations high, meets expectations low, slightly underperforms, does not meet expectations. This you can use to mark the competency levels. As you evaluate each learner, determine at which level he or she is performing. Then take the average level among the criteria and you have an objective grade with suggestions for areas in which your learners can improve. This is just another example of a marking grid for speaking. You can look at the eye contact, you can look at the enthusiasm, you can look at the preparedness and organization, you can look at whether the child speaks clearly, you can look at the knowledge of content. All right? Then you can have in the columns, then you can have the numbers, 4 being the highest and 1 being the lowest. Okay, and then we move on to stories and storytelling, and development of positive character traits in learners. How stories help in developing positive character traits in learners. The first one is that they impart values and information and to make sense of life. They also help them to solve problems. They want to know the answer to and provide resolutions that give us hope. It helps us also to discern what is right from wrong and who we wish to model ourselves after. We look at characters and we see which ones we identify with, which ones we like more. It teaches us tolerance and appreciation of difference and commonality. Difference, those that are different from us and those that are similar to us, that is commonality. So we can tolerate the differences and appreciate commonality. Paragraph writing, very important. When does one begin a new paragraph? You begin a new paragraph in the following situations: when you begin a new idea or point, when you want to contrast information or ideas with what has gone earlier, when your readers need a pause, when you are ending your introduction or starting your conclusion. Your introductory and concluding material should always be in a new paragraph. So these are the situations where we need to begin new paragraphs. Phonetics versus phonology. These are two confusing words. Mostly people don't really understand them. Phonetics, sound system in general, the description and classification of speech sounds, particularly how sounds are produced, transmitted, and received. So this is the science of sound systems. Whereas phonology is the science of a sound system of a specific language. For example, the sound system of Silozi is different from that of Oshiwam or Oshindonga, for example. Okay, so in a case where I have to write, in some cases, a B in Silozi is pronounced as a V. It has a V sound. So, but if we look at the phonetics, B can never be pronounced as V. So that's phonetics. But in phonology, it is acceptable for somebody that has studied the sound system of Silozi to pronounce a B as a V, because it is particular to that language. Then parts of speech, these are very important. We need to acquaint ourselves with the different parts of speech. These are words that we use in everyday language. The first part of speech that we're going to look at is pronoun. A pronoun is used instead of a noun. Instead of saying chunga, you could say he. So that is pronoun he replacing a noun. Verb. A verb is the action word in a statement. Some verbs links a subject to a noun, pronoun, or adjective. Sit, is, or ran. All these are verbs. Adjectives. An adjective modifies or makes more exact the meaning of a noun or a pronoun. Okay, beautiful, girl, a red car, a tall man. Adverb. An adverb modifies a verb, an adjective or another verb. Very or beautifully, these are all very fast car. A beautiful lady. Conjunction. A conjunction is a connector. A coordinate conjunction connects words or group of words that are grammatically the same. A common way of looking at the coordinating conjunctions is to have to look at them through the word fanboys. F standing for for, A standing for and, N standing for nor, but, B standing for but, O standing for O, Y standing for yet, and S standing for so. So that spells the word fanboys. The types of pronouns, personal pronouns, these take the place of specific names of persons or place. Reflexive pronouns are formed by adding self or selves as a suffix, myself, ourselves. Demonstrative pronouns, these are words that we use to show or to demonstrate or to show things. For example, that glass, this glass, that chair. So that, these are all demonstrative pronouns. Indefinite pronouns, pronouns that refer to people or things in general, like the demonstrative pronouns, they can be used as adjectives, another day, both animals, many weeks. Relative and interrogative pronouns, the words who, whose, whom, that, which, and what are called relative pronouns. So this is basically the end of this presentation. You need to actually use these together with your study guide, but do not only study a week or so before the exam. Take time to go through your study content so that by the time that you are studying for exams, you already have an idea of what is in your study materials. Thank you.